Hello, everybody. Look who
Hi.
I got, Nancy Jean. We are going into a deep dive today because Nancy Jean always pushes me to a different level of understanding. So we had been talking about how everybody is feeling a little wonky and feeling the shift, and we wanted to dive into this a little bit as the seasons change. And so let's just get a deeper understanding of how we can navigate this time in our lives, this time in our seasons, so that we come out the other end happier and wiser and healthier.
And less freaked out. And less freaked out.
And less freaked out. Yeah. Yeah. So we broke.
Change is a scary situation. We all would like to say the same. Change is the inevitable being alive. So that's kind of what we're thinking about. And we're both, Danny and I have discussed this. We're getting so many people coming to us with, I had an old friend I had to let go, or I'm meeting new people. I'm looking for my tribe, all these sorts of things that are very vital changes in this shift.
Right. Yeah. And in anything, in any growth, it gets really, really messy, you know, because you're breaking down the old that isn't working. You're letting all that go. And now you're venturing out like the Fool card. You're venturing out feeling you're going to walk over a cliff. But that Fool card is just the beginning of the journey. And the Fool didn't die. He continues on through his journey. So
he became the magician. He couldn't have died.
Yeah, right. Right. So we're going to pull some cards later on. But for now, let's just talk a little bit about, you know, we were talking before about the stages of life for women, stages of life for men. And so let's go through some of those. We can even talk about, why don't you start, because you have two things to talk about.
Okay. The stages of life for women in Western culture, and actually I found some literature that comes out of the Eastern culture that feels the same way. Women have three stages. They're maiden, mother, and then crone. And crone, not in a negative state, their way of meaning crone was a wise old woman. And so those were kind of the paradigms that people put around your life. And you may not have the looks you had as a maiden when you're a mother, but then you have all of the other positive emotional ties, theoretically, in being a mother. And then if you become a crone, yeah, you're even more wrinkly. And trust me, this is a stage of life I'm becoming very familiar with. And you're a lot more wrinkly and you're a lot more crinkly, but you've got a lot more going on in your head that's much better than the 16-year-old flipping off little kid that I was. So I can relate to those. And I think those are sort of normal progressions we're used to. One of the things that when I was thinking about this in regards to what's happening to us right now is we're being pushed into a different level of consciousness. It's not just your body, and it's not just physically what you see, and it's not just the wisdom you have. We're being put to a different level of consciousness. And that's not on my list. I mean, there's nothing like Crone plus, like computer languages, right? But and
it's interesting though that your list, you don't die.
No, we don't die. Danny got the good list. He gets the guy list.
I get the guy list. And you know, the women have 3, guys have 7, because we need some extra help. And this is coming from I'm going to use Nancy Jean sent me the William Shakespeare As You Like It monologue. And it refers to the 7 stages of man. as infant, schoolboy, lover, soldier, justice, pantaloons, which is old age.
That's your depends. That's a medieval division of depends. Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah. And then number 7 is extreme old age. Again, like an infant, so it brings you back into the full circle. And again, we don't die either. We just go back and recycle ourselves again.
Right.
Right. And then you had another one, didn't you?
I have love, the stages of love.
Yeah.
Okay. The stages of love, and I do not know what, it's something Middle Eastern, and I don't know the language that I copied this from. I can read what when they put it in English, I got it fine. But the stages of love are attraction, seasons of love, attraction, infatuation, love, trust, worship, madness, and then death, the end of it. So some love affairs go through that pretty quickly. Some of them skip stages. I never got to the point where I worshiped anybody. No offense to the people I dated, but but you kind of have to look at it. Sometimes we adapt to seasons and we accept them, and they are part of what we see as the cycle. But these are all cycles, like seasons or cycles.
Yes.
And we've been educated to have winter, spring, summer, fall. We've been educated to expect things in those times, and we're going to go into fall in particular,
right?
Because that's the season we're in. But people are telling me, I feel like I'm dashing ahead, like my timeline's moving in a different direction. Fall, well, Danny's going to talk about fall, so I'll let you handle fall.
Oh, I'm going to talk about fall.
Okay. You want me to talk about fall?
Well, you were on a roll there, so I was thinking you were going to keep going with it. But as fall goes, as we move into fall with the harvesting of what we've planted in the spring and nourished in the summer, and now we're harvesting all of our fruits of our labor, and storing them for the winter. To me, that just feels like that when I get into that energy, I feel exhilarated, I feel a little worn out and tired, and I feel proud of what I've collected and what I'm storing up for the winter months. So it is a time of like taking a deep breath, but we still have so much work to do to collect for winter, for our storage time. So I get the sense that we're kind of like going, oh my gosh, we feel that, am I going to get it all in storage? Am I going to can everything? Am I going to get all of this gathering completed in time before it rots? And so, it's a little, the time is a little anxious for me. And I think for a lot of us, and that is just a seasonal thing that, well, certainly I feel as I go through this.
Well, fall starts in Virgo, which is where we put together the details of our life. We analyze things. And then the next month is in Scorpio, is the next house. And Scorpio is where we dig deeper and look and see how things are working out. I mean, that's when you look at sex, death, regeneration, and other people's money and our own money. Have I put aside enough so that I have the value I need to survive? Then the 9th house, that's part of the fall season, is Sagittarius, which is December, and it's higher education, travel, philosophy, publishing, and law. And one of the reasons I think we have time to think about that is because we're not planting a crop, we're not bringing a crop in, we're not, and it hasn't gotten cold enough to where our actual existence might be in peril. So that end of that part of the fall cycle is where we can be a little more philosophical. We can look around a little bit more. The other thing I know is I used to run large volunteer groups for public broadcasting and political campaigns and all sorts of things. And my people I was coordinating with to say, how many people do you have? I said, I'll let you know by the 20th of September, because of the growth cycle and because our educational cycle and our year is really geared to the agrarian cycle that this country was born out of. School starts in September or late August, depending on where you live in the country. And that's it's like the bell rings in your head, and that's when volunteers go, oh, I want to do this, I want to put my energy into this. It's like they're still, even when we're adults and we're outside of the mom putting you in the first grade and telling you to sit your butt in that desk, we do that to ourselves. It's a self-imposed kind of thing. And all my new volunteers would march in September, and they'd hang around, and then they drift through into the summer. And by the end of the summer, I'd know who was leaving, who was staying. But September is like a bell ringer, and it really is where we begin to create new partnerships and new ideas and new alliances. But this falls a little differently. It's coming together a little differently. When I'm talking to people, they feel like they're being pushed into the things that they're seeing the world with new eyes, and they're wanting to go to different things at a much more rapid rate. And they want to make something grow. They want to see things blossom and bloom. So we're getting a mix of seasons, and that's really where a discussion of seasonality, how much of the seasons are locked up in our psyche because it's what we've always done.
Right.
And my most infamous time of my life is when I moved to Texas from Illinois. And in Illinois, when you were in school, you had these lovely fall days, and then it would start to get cold, and then you knew you had to study because the end of the semester was coming. So here I was in Texas waiting for it to get colder. It didn't get colder, but the finals came.
Right.
I mean, and I realized how much of my body was tied to what it was feeling externally, how that geared up with my brain. I did pass, I did stay, I did get through college, but I had to learn that you can't wait for the leaves to fall off the trees, because they don't fall off the damn trees here. So,
right.
So that's kind of my interpretation of fall and where it falls. And as you notice, we talk about spring, summer, autumn, winter, and that's just like the four elements: air, fire, earth, and water. And I'm going to let Danny talk about that, because that relates more to the shaman part of.
Yeah, and part of and you can take that into directions as well. And so a lot of people know that when I do my morning ritual, I am meditating and I'm praying to the four directions, into to the sky and to Mother Earth. And in those four directions, your east, south, west, and north, you have the four seasons. With that, you have the dawn, the midday, the dusk, the night. And you can correlate that into so many different areas, including the seasons. You can correlate that to your power animals, to your angels, to your psyche, where you are in the process of life. And I think it's important that we don't talk about, oh, you mixed up a label by saying that East is a new beginning or a new, we tend to put labels on things, and I think we need to only put those labels on it so we can call in the idea into our brain a little quicker. Right. So that we're not fumbling around for, what does East mean? What is the power animal of East? Well, certain people say, well, it'll be a hawk or a deer, but it could also be a jaguar, And what does a hawk mean to you versus what does a jaguar mean to you? So in your stages of a new idea coming to you, like Nancy Jean with your garden, when you first got that idea, that was an east, a rising sun energy. And so that energy may have had a particular power animal associated to it that took that off. It wouldn't be a lumbering power animal. It might have been like a hummingbird just taking off, and things change as you progress in your season. So it's for me, I feel that we need to allow things to change within the seasons and not be so locked into, oh, they didn't say this right. Oh, it's really this item. We need to be more flexible, call in the power that we need for the seasons and let that go. So did I just go off on a tangent a little bit?
No more than normal.
Okay.
I'm queen of the tangents, trust me.
All right.
That was a short one.
Yeah.
One of the things is you have to understand that because we're going through a major energy shift, that we have to be more ready to feel like spring in October, if that happens. I mean, you have to be a little more nimble and accept it, and don't think, oh, I'm freaking out, this is wrong. Right now, what's right and wrong is becoming extremely relative to where you're standing and where you're sitting. And I think fall is a great season because it's the one where we start to get rooted, we start to get settled down, we start to get ready for what should be winter. And unfortunately, for some people who really want everything to roll just as it always has before, I have big news for you. It ain't. So you can either get with the thing, or you can fight it all day and make yourself nuts. But that's kind of what we're trying to warn people about. The different seasons are getting, and how we feel about things are getting a little mixed up in our own heads. I know I get that from people I'm doing readings for, not that they're nuts in their own heads, but that they feel very differently about things than they would normally feel this time of year.
Right.
And it's not just because it really is the whole world situation, and it's the planets that are moving on top of us in astrology. So if you know a good astrologer you like to watch October. October is going to be a very interesting month. As I always tell people, I know just enough astrology to be dangerous. So I'm not going to go into the interpretations of what I'm hearing from them, but we have a lot of big planets, and we have a lot of planets moving, transiting. If you know anything about astrology, as the planets go around, then they come back to where you were born or where other planets were on your chart. The US's chart's up for grabs this next year or so. So it's not just you. I mean, you're in this country, and it's not just this country, it's the world. So I kind of want to say that the seasons are going to seem a little bit scrambled, because we're going to have to become much more adaptable, and talk to the different, there's different entities you can call in. You can call in the archangels. Each season has.
Before you go there,
sure. What?
I want to interrupt just a little bit, because
please.
When I was getting ready for this video, I pulled some cards on it, and one of the cards that I pulled was Unbound, with just people rising up and not being tied to any one thing. And the other card that I pulled, which I thought was really interesting, which is what you just talked about with our roots. And this is the card that I pulled.
Wow.
And look at the roots. So the tree is black and white, but the roots are full of color. And I really feel that, you're talking about fall maybe feeling like a little spring. And what I heard in my head was you can't pass up the winter. The winter is a time for us just to kind of like regroup a little bit. It may be shorter, but we need that, just that, grab a blanket, wrap it around you. It's going to get a little chilly, get comfortable, know that your roots are nice and strong. And then, but the winter may not be as long as you think it is. New ideas are going to be coming a little quicker because we are shifting into just a new vibration that's happening really, really quickly. And I think that that's what we are feeling.
Yeah, I pulled a card from the Moonology deck when Danny and I were talking before, and I went to that deck because it's all about cycles. It's all about all the different lunar cycles. And the card I pulled about what do we need to work with in this period of time, and it says confidence. It says confidence is your key to success.
Yeah.
And when you read about it, it says you need to take the time to show off the world who you are. Take the time to shine your own light. Don't bury your light because you think, I don't feel sparkly shiny. I mean, show your light if it's there. Have pride, spoil yourself. We've earned it. When we're going through this change, do things that are good for yourself. Don't think, oh, I have this rough ride ahead of me. It's not a rough ride. It's fun. I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then it says the teaching here is Leo is the big, brave-hearted lion, proud of everything in his showmanship and flirting. So you're going to be flirting with a lot of new ideas, a lot of new people, a lot of new things going on around you. The energy around the Leo moon, and therefore around this card, is hot and generous. The energy is love itself. Take that love and spread it forward with confidence. And I think that's what we need to do. We don't need to be afraid of this. We need to accept it and let our light shine, see how we work with it. I agree with you. I mean, you got the roots you got, guys. I mean, and those roots are going to say to some extent how you grow. And some of us are being very freed from our roots. Some of us realize I don't need that root. And some of us know I need that big taproot desperately to survive.
Right.
People know what a taproot is?
Sure.
Okay.
It's like what dandelions have.
Yeah, it's that big long one that you can't ever get out of your yard. It's actually the most basic long root in your existence. And if your taproot's true, and if you've been working on dealing with your grounding yourself, then you should hold on to that. The message is coming from the taproot. It's a lot of the other stuff that gets thrown in on the side that, maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we do have to, and when I'm listening to you, I hear that, that our roots, we've already grown those roots. Our roots are deep into the ground. So we don't need to worry about falling over or anything as we go forward. Our roots are strong enough to hold us. We may wobble a little bit, but as you said, enjoy the ride. It's fun. Have fun with it. So anyway, that was a little diversion. Let's get back to the angels, because those are
okay.
We like angels.
Yes. The first angel that we're going to look at is Uriel, and this is a depiction of Uriel, and he's in the sun card in this deck. This is the Archangel Tarot from Radley Valentine, and all the archangels are in there. Uriel's in there several times. Uriel's what they call the glitter angel. He's the one that's all gold and sparkly and rainbowy and really spreads out. And weirdly enough, he's the one you told me that's for winter, right?
That is what I was saying was north.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, winter.
Okay. And then Michael, who I think this is a really lovely bodybuilding Michael here. He's on the world in this deck. And he's from the south. And Michael really is the strength of our background and what we bring in with us. Because in my garden, the south is past lives or things you've learned in this life. And Michael's a good person to call in to come in. his little sword, if you call him in, there's a thing where you can call him in and have him sever cords that are holding you back. And he can help you do that with things in this life. And I think the thing about talking about the Leo moon and having pride, one of the things a lot of people are finding out is I'm a more spiritual person. I'm talking about my spirituality, and people are trying to pull me back and say, oh, do you want to talk about that? They get that side eye and that eye roll. No, it's time for us to speak up. As a spiritual community, we have a right and we have a need right now to be here. We need to be here for each other.
Right.
And if someone's trying to draw you back and say no, and if you're around someone and you're feeling spiritually bound and like you're in a good space, and someone comes up and says, no bueno, it's time to really look at that friendship or see what you can do to help them. But I can tell you right now, my meditations tell me there's no saving them. People have to save themselves. You have to take care of yourself and save yourself.
Right. And the thing with Michael, I have a different image. I don't have him with a little sword. He's got this big sword. It's huge.
Yeah.
And when he's in the south, not that I'm always facing north all the time, because sometimes I wobble, but I always feel that energy is having my back. And so when somebody's coming up to me that is saying, that's questioning where I'm going on this spiritual path that I'm going on, I always, if I want to tap into who's got my back, that is a strong root system, going back to the tarot, that I can rely on and I can lean into and have that strength just to keep going forward. And yeah, he does cut cords. He does let not like the West that cuts cords, but he is just this strength that you can fall back onto, and it's a little protection. So little protection bubble for me.
Okay, and we have Archangel Raphael to the east, and he's pictured here behind the lovers. And he, in this particular deck, there's a whole suit called Raphael, and it's the cups, and that pretty much sums him up. But he also releases you to be free within yourself. To allow you to love yourself. It's not just going off into the sunset like Scarlett O'Hara. It's other things. And so he's in the east on the setup that we looked at earlier.
Right. Which is new beginnings, new love of
things
life.
Coming up out of the ground. It's coming out of the earth.
Right.
And the last angel we have, and this is both Gabriel. Gabriel is actually, angels don't have a sex. It's kind of wherever we draw them to be. But this is Gabriel as a queen and Gabriel as a king. And Gabriel is always generous, inspirational, dramatic, and driven. And they are to the west. And they have a lot to do with letting go and letting things slide away, be released. They are releasing angels. They also inform you so you don't have to sit around and worry, as in the story of how the Virgin Mary learned she was pregnant. She didn't know how. But archangels are really powerful critters. You can go read up on them and see how to use them also as a part of the base of your spiritual life. And every faith, including the Buddhists, has angels. I don't think there's a religious structure that doesn't have something that's the equivalent
of
an angel. And at least that's what I've been told. And I know that I know there's people like, were they really the extraterrestrials? I don't care. I mean, well, they obviously were the extraterrestrials because they're not sitting in my next door neighbor's house. But you can call upon them, and if it gives you strength and peace, then use it.
Right. You know, one of the things too, when we're talking about and that goes back into labeling too. If it
Mm-hmm.
gives you strength and power, then use it. You don't need to have a label of, oh, that can't happen. There's going to be a lot that comes out that we go, oh my gosh, well, I didn't know that. So we're opening up to a lot of things. The other thing too that I just wanted to mention, with these 4 directions, these 4 elements, as one goes into another, like if you're thinking of if you're feeling Archangel Michael to the south, and then you want to transition to the west and thank of your accomplishments and letting go of things that you've already done that don't serve you, whatever, you still, it's not like this severing of, okay, I'm now in the west, I went from the south to the west. They all blend together and they all assist each other. So that power of Michael with the sword and protection allows you to grow and realize what your accomplishments are, and that you don't need to hang on to that accomplishment. You can let that go gently so that you can open up to something new, and that new is coming from the east. So these directions just kind of blend together and move back and forth and around in a circle. They're not stagnant at all.
And a lot of when something grows up in out of the earth towards us, and you've got the fire coming from the south and the past life stuff, it's going to temper it. Where you've been, what you've seen, how you've lived, who you've known, is going to temper it. And how you think about it's going to be the air. Is the air going to make it feel differently? I mean, so that it all those elements move around each other. I was gonna roll a couple stones in the garden, talk a little bit about seasons in the garden, because in the garden, for those of you who haven't seen it, this is an oracle garden. And you see we have north, south, east, west, and they're marked air, earth, fire, water. And then all around it is the chakras and a lot of other states of being. So there's a way you can do, it's called one and done. And I'm trying to figure out the fall. I think for the fall, I'm gonna throw clarity. What area of the whole garden, where should clarity fall to give us the best understanding of where we're going, kind of with this, with the fall, this season, this new change? Where are we? We're in water, and water is moving away. Clarity in water means you have the clarity you need. Follow one of the paths and let your life forces resolve it for you. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to say is relax, let it happen, see what's going on here. I can do a one undone on our
wait a minute before you go there, because I wanted to pull I wanted to pull some cards on what you just did, and then we could move forward. I pulled 2 cards because Nancy was going to go. I was going to pull 3, but I'm going to save it. The first color card I got, when Nancy threw hers, where are we? What do we need to do? And it's space. So just give us the space that we need. And I also got quieting the mind. Both of them are saying the same thing that Nancy Jean just said. We need this space. We need to quiet our minds, take a breath. We're okay. Our roots are solid.
That's true. And I'm going to ask where our values are, because this is pyrite, and in my in the garden, pyrite stands for grounding. And what's going to ground us, what's going to help us move forward in this. Go for it. Best spot on my board. You wouldn't know that if you haven't studied, but all is aligned with your values. So whatever your values are, go for it. What'd you pull?
Okay, so it's interesting that you said, let's go with grounding. So I am using, the deck that I'm using is Work Your Light, which is not grounding at all. But what I got is Pillar of Light. Your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. Again, it goes right back to what you said, Nancy Jean.
Right.
You know, trust yourself, trust who you are, trust your root system. We got this.
Okay, we're going to do spirit now, Danny.
All right, spirit.
Oh, it fell halfway between, well, not quite, but it fell into earth, and spirit's transforming, but it's not yet finished, which is part of the idea of growth. And false on this doesn't mean what you think it would mean. It means that your spirit needs to be aligned with situations for them to go forward. So that's what I got for spirit. So what you got?
Spirit, for this time in the fall, what are we feeling?
And that's the one that landed in the quadrant on my garden. That's fall. This is winter, this is spring, this is summer, and this is fall.
Right. And I got, using the color cards, color oracle, I got reflection. And so it's looking at a balance, seeing, you know, it's just time to reflect on where we are. Again, it's not an action card. It's more of a reflection card, right, because that's what it says.
It's also spirit, and it's also purple, like my amethyst.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, now I'm going to throw mind. Where's our mind going to be this fall? And mind literally means, it's orange calcite, and it literally means your mental processes. It's your path forward. And path forward in the mind. Mind is open. Watch for the signs. And I think we talked about that so many people are moving quickly and they need to be, watch for the omens. What'd you find?
Oh, so I'm using the Wild Unknown Tarot. And when you were going back to the reflections, I have the 10 of Wands. Be careful that we don't get caught up in the web of too many thoughts getting in here and destroying and confusing us so much. It shouldn't be that hard. But if we have too many thoughts that are contradicting and fighting with us, just kind of separate them a little bit and get quiet in this time.
Yes, yeah. There's several spots on this garden that when you land in there, it says weed it out. Pick out the things that are worth saving, like you would with a normal garden. This is the body. And this is the body, and this means your physical being, but it also means kind of the whole energy sphere around your body. So we're going to see where's body going this fall. Our body got in sacral chakra.
Oh.
Energy will be freed by using creativity.
Wow.
So
body will be free by using creativity. So my body, well, not my body, but my card for body is, look at that woman dancing, being creative.
Yeah, being creative, letting your body move,
right,
seeing where it wants to go.
And it's the call of the muse. So what are you listening to that, and it goes back to this card for me. What are you listening to that is freeing you? What are you listening to that is creating conflict in you? The muse shouldn't be creating so much conflict. It should maybe push you a little bit, but it should be more freeing than combative.
Yeah, if you start getting caught in thought cycles, because remember it said your mind's all important and to watch for the omens, and that means watch for the good ones. That doesn't mean every single thing that pours into your brain is the truth. You
Correct.
have to use discretion. You have to use your power of yourself to do that. So that's kind of how the garden sees our path ahead.
That was cool. I really enjoyed using the garden along with
cards.
complementary tarot. I mean, it just shows how powerful both systems are. That system that you've created with the garden is, I've been playing with that, and I've been taking some of your classes. It's so powerful if you just get into it and and meditate, meaning getting comfortable with the layout of the garden. It's really a powerful tool.
Because that's what meditation means, is to get familiar with.
Right.
Okay. I've pulled 2 cards to kind of, are we close to closing here?
We are. Yes,
Okay.
we are.
Okay. I pulled 2 cards. I got, for the people going forward, I got the Knight of Cups. And I got the Page of Discs, which is Pentacles. And when I put those 2 together, is the Knight of Cups will carry forward the values we're learning to live with, because this little guy, okay, this little, I can't do this on this, you guys have no idea at home, but it's like nothing's where it's supposed to be when you're looking at the camera. This guy, these are our new and changing values. These are our new arising values, and maybe looking at the old values we had and deciding I want to keep that. But we're riding forward with the Knight of Cups, which is, it's different than the King and Queen of Cups in that he can be a bit of a dissembler. But for the most part, the Knight of Cups is someone carrying forward the positive emotional message. And that's what I want people to find in this time. I want them to find emotional balance, because one of the reasons I created the garden, I didn't create the garden. I channeled the garden in. People keep saying I created it. I was just the sucker that was in my bed at 3 a.m. when they came and talked to me about it. But when I channeled it in, it was made very plain to me that it was not to be a dualistic system. There's not a winner and a loser in this. There's a what you can carry out that's positive for you. That's what you're supposed to do. And if you think that's winning, then that's good. I mean, I would think that's good, but I can't make assumptions. But it's time. I think that along with my Moonology card about that, it's the Leo time to shine our own light. I think it's time for us to learn about our new values and carry them forward in a positive emotional vein. I don't like it when I see people getting really, really upset about things, unless it's something they ought to be upset about, but getting upset about things that really aren't meaningful, and they should match to your values.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to end this. So I want to thank everybody for watching. We may put this on both channels. If we don't, if it ends up on one, please go to the other person's channel, like and subscribe.
And like and share.
Yes.
Oh, did I tell you my funny story about like, share, and subscribe?
No.
My daughter reads these weird things on Facebook, and there's something called toddler talk. My daughter doesn't have a toddler. I don't know why she watched it, but maybe it's because it makes it easier to communicate with me. Who knows? But in toddler talk, there's a mother who put her 2-year-old down, and she said, "Will you have a good night, honey?" And the little girl looked up to her with big eyes and said, "Like, share, and subscribe." And the mother kind of looked at her and she said, "What?" And she said, "Well, you're going away, mommy, so you're going to like, share, and subscribe." This child had seen so much YouTube around her mother that she decided that was goodbye. So like, share, and subscribe, everybody. Right. Right. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. And I'll see you in the spring. No, I'll see you in the winter, around the middle of December. In the winter. In the winter. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.